सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहा त्रिनयना माणिक्यमौली स्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरा स्मितमुखी मापीनवक्षोरुहा पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकम् रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम्। सान्निपातिकज्वर सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रह नक्षत्र दोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी गम गम विद्ये आले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नम् विध्वंसय विध्वंसय विघ्न विनाशिनि रजनी सन्धे बन्धुभिनादे मानस्तोषे मानसवेगे शङ्खिनी चक्रिणी वज्रिणी गदिनी शूलिनी अपमृत्यु विनाशिनी विश्वेश्वरी द्राविडी केशवदैते पशुपति सहिते भीममर्दिनि गमनी कामिनी शबरी विराटी वाजक्ती। ॐ द्रं 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 ॐ द्रं गुरु गुरु
Namaste and a warm welcome to all our participants for our practice session on the 23rd day of the Global Festival of Yoga. We have with us Sri Omkar Bodkindikar. I'm very happy to introduce our own team member Sri Omkar ji for this session. He'll be leading a practice session on how to take care of the back with the practices of asana, pranayama, and all related practices. So with this, I invite Omkar ji to also join us. Swagatam, Omkar.
Thank you. Namaste.
Omkar has already been with us on a couple of occasions as an anchor, and today he will be leading our session. I'm very pleased to introduce him formally. Omkar has a background in bachelor's and master's degree in yoga from the prestigious Yes Vyasa University. Most of you might have noticed by now, many of the fraternity who are teaching here, they have come from Yes Vyasa or connected with Yes Vyasa. So that is the great advantage that we have, that many people are connected with this well-known world-class university based out of Bangalore, Yes Vyasa Yoga University. He nearly has 2 decades of experience in training and teaching yoga. He is loved and respected by his students, clients, and everyone that he comes across with. He is known for the gifts he brings to their professional and personal lives as a yoga teacher, therapist, counselor, coach, and a stress management consultant. Omkar travels widely, conducting workshops, seminars, retreats on both philosophical and practical aspects of yoga, including meditation and guided relaxation. So, this is a brief introduction to him. You will get to know more about him as he leads the session, and also he will interact with you at the end of the session, answering your questions. So, with this, I will leave it to him, and I also would like to welcome all our participants. So, get ready with your mats for the practice, for a lovely practice session, and whatever questions you might have, you can always present in front of Omkar at the end of the session. So with this, over to you, Omkar.
Thank you. Namaste all, and a very, very good morning. A wonderful global yoga festival we are having, and we are connected with each other. And I was thinking how I can contribute, and I thought why not to work with the yoga for the back care. I've been extensively working in a corporate world for the many IT employees, corporate employees, for their back pain, neck pain, and shoulder such issues, the spinal issues. The yoga therapy, when we talk about, there we obviously connect ourselves with the concept of Panchakosha and see through that perspective. And while seeing through that perspective, it is very much essential also to understand the process of us as a human being, how we are functioning through the point of view of ahara, vihara, and vichara. So today's session is, we will be handling these 3 aspects of it for the back. And as obviously in a vihara, in form of the activities, yogasanas. And when I talk about the yogasanas, most of you are a practitioner of a yoga, you are a yoga teacher, or you might be a beginner for the yoga. But it doesn't matter for today's session, because the practices which we will be doing are the safe practices, are the easy practices, but also a very good practices for the back. We will be exclusively working on the lower back, middle back, and upper back step by step. We will be going through the series of breathing practices. We'll be going through a series of holding postures. We will be going through the relaxation, and we will be going through the pranayama session. This all combined today. So we will have variety, and we will go deeper gradually in that. Having said that, let's begin the session today with a Vajrasana. Please, all of you, come to the mat and sit in a Vajrasana, where you sit on your heels. You keep your back straight, spine straight. And when you keep your back and spine straight, keep your palms on the thighs turned upward. This is a receiving pose where your spine is straight, chin is little tilted down, and just watch yourself in a Vajra. When you are in a Vajra, you are steady, you are aware, you are alert. Take a deep breath and totally breathe out. Keep yourself open for the energy flow. Keep yourself aware. Remember, awareness is a key factor throughout the practice. And with awareness, take a deep breath and 1 round of Om. For Om, take a deep breath. Allow those vibrations of Om to spread throughout the body. Slowly interlock your fingers and take your hands up. Let your eyes remain closed and just stretch your spine in a Vajra. Make sure you're breathing deep and you're trying to use your rib cage here with inhale and exhale. As you inhale, you try to lift the rib cage up. As you exhale, you let go, relax. Observe that space in the abdominal area, the space which you create when you stretch the rib cage up. It's not only the shoulder activity, it's the entire thoracic region which is functioning. And then slowly take your hands down. We will continue with the next practice of the repetition. As I said, there will be series of repetitive practices. When we take care of the back, it is essential to combine the movements with the breathing. So when I'm combining the movements with the breathing, the very helpful practice is called as tiger breathing or cat camel stretch or cat and cow stretch. Various names are there. You take one hand distance between your knees, one hand in front of the knee, and stand on your palms, knees, and feet. When you stand on the palms, knees, and feet, keep your back neutral, spine neutral. Now with inhalation, try to look up at the ceiling. With exhalation, crunch your belly, press your palms, push your back up. Inhale, try to look at the ceiling. Curve your back. Exhale, reverse that curve. Inhale, depress your spine. Observe that entire movement. Exhale, reverse. Keep your awareness throughout the spine. Inhale, look up, curve your back. Exhale, reverse. Breathe in. Breathe out. When you breathe out, crunch your belly in. Inhale. Exhale. Two more rounds. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last round. Breathe in. Breathe out. Once you complete this round, sit on the heels, bend forward, relax in a Shashankasana. Turn your palms upward in a Shashanka to relax your shoulders. Slowly come back. One thing which I want to mention here is this, that when I say taking care of the back, it also means that if you have a pain and if you don't have a back pain, any form of the back pain, I'm including even the neck pain also. So it is essential that if you're a beginner or you may be advanced practitioner, to take care of the back. You might be extremely flexible, but still it is essential to do certain postures, certain repetitive practices for the back, for the neck, for the shoulder, to keep that flexibility alive, to increase the flexibility. And if you feel that you are stiff, or if you are having any form of the back pain, any kind of a back issue, neck issue, then also it is essential to do the practices. So whatever yoga practice you do, some 10 to 15 minutes, you must keep yourself to work on your spine. First practice we did the tiger breathing, and after tiger breathing is the practice which gives you idea about the flexibility of the spine. Having said that, we will continue the further practice. Please unfold your legs and then lie down on your back. It's essential when we work on the back to start with the supine practices. It gives a kind of a comfort. So when we start with the supine practices, first practice is a Supta Pavana Muktasana, where you bring the right knee to the chest, interlock the fingers, hold your right knee, compress your belly. Lift the head up to touch your chin on the right knee. Release, relax. Left knee to the chest, compress the knee to the belly, lift the head up, chin on the knee, relax. 5 to 8 rounds on each side we are going to do, very slow, very easily we are going to do. Inhale, take a breath while exhaling. Inhale, come back, exhale, relax. Inhale, take a breath, exhaling time, knee to the chest, compress the belly. Inhale, come back, relax. Take a breath and exhale. Inhale, come back, relax. Inhale, exhaling time, knee to the chest. Breathe in, come back, relax. Inhale, take a breath, exhale. Inhale, come back, relax. Breathe in, take a breath, exhale, lift your head up to touch your chin on the knee. Inhale, come back, relax. Just one more set. Take a breath, exhale. Inhale, come back, relax. Take a breath, exhale. Inhale, come back, relax. It's very essential to combine with the breath. And when we are combining with the breath, we are going to hold now. So exhale, knee to the chest, lift your head up to touch your chin on the knee, and there you have a deep breathing. Your awareness is towards the belly, your awareness is towards the lower back and hips. You should try to keep pressure on the opposite thigh. And then release, relax. Similar way, left knee. Make sure there is a deep breathing. Anytime you get confused in any yoga practice, it is always good to have a deep breathing. And then release, relax. It's very easy to do the Supta Pavana Muktasana. It works on the lower back, it loosens the hips, it presses the belly, it releases. If there is a gaseous, what we call the block, if there are gases stuck in the belly, it releases. Now, Pavana Muktasana, where you bring the knees to the chest, hug your knees, compress the belly. If you feel comfortable, lift the head up. If you find it's okay, I can keep the head down and hold the posture. And maintain Pavana Muktasana, feet are touching each other, have a good grip and breathe easy. Sometimes if you have a neck issue or shoulder issue, you might find it is difficult to lift the head up. So in that case, keep your head down and just keep pressing the belly. Those who feel comfortable, lift the head and release, relax. For the current practices, we are doing 20 to 30 seconds of the holding. But when you practice, I recommend you start with the 30 seconds and go up to a minute at least for every posture to hold. And the repetitions we are doing today, 8 rounds to 10 rounds. But when you practice, I suggest you to do 10 to 15 rounds at least for each side. So that was the Pavana Muktasana, single leg and both legs together, Supta Pavana Muktasana and the Pavana Muktasana. Now the next practice comes where we fold the both legs. Bring your hands sidewise straight. This is a cross leg lumbar stretch. Though this particular practice comes from the what we call the Western type of the practices, though it is not a traditional yoga practice, but we include it because it helps us to go for the next yoga posture, which we will be doing. So the first practice here in the twisting is a cross leg lumbar stretch where we cross the right leg on the left. Palms are fixed down. When I take a breath, I have to take a deep breath. Drop the knees to the right, neck to the left. Inhale, come to the center. Drop the knees to the left, neck to the right. Come to the center. You don't have to push hard, nor you should have any jerky movement. Do it slowly. So when you inhale, you are in the center. While exhaling, drop your knees to the right, neck to the left. While inhaling, come to the center. While exhaling, opposite side. Inhale, center. Exhale. Inhale, center. Exhale. You're twisting with exhalation. Inhale, center. Exhale to the twist. Breathe in, center. Breathe out. Last round. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Breathe in, center. Breathe out. Come back. Cross leg lumbar stretch where we cross the right leg on the left. Now cross leg lumbar stretch where we cross the left leg on the right. Nicely wrap the left leg around the right. Hands sidewise, palms are fixed. And then take a deep breath. Drop your knees to the right, neck to the left. Exhale. Come to the center. Knees to the left, neck to the right. Exhale. Come to the center. Make sure the foot which is down, my right foot is down, will not move here and there. Once it is fixed on the mat, it is fixed on the mat. So whatever range of the twist you have doesn't matter. Your foot is steady. It will not go right. It will not go out of the mat. It is fixed. So take a breath. Drop your knees to the right. Exhale. Come to the center with inhalation. Drop your knees to the left, neck to the right. Come to the center. Inhale, center. Exhale, right, neck left. Inhale, center. Opposite side while exhaling. Observe how the twist is happening on the lower back. How the stretch is coming on the waistline. Exhaling time right. Neck left. Breathe in center. Exhaling time left. Neck right. And the last round. Inhale center. Exhale opposite side. Inhale center. Exhale twist. Come to the center. When we take care of the back, in the understanding with the pain, in a understanding with the removing stiffness, or to improve the flexibility, repetition with the breathing makes a lot of difference. So it is essential that you repeat initially all these stretches, all these postures. The holding definitely makes a difference later. But at the beginning, make sure you're repeating, getting used to stretch those muscles. That's why we did the cross leg lumbar stretch. And after cross leg lumbar stretch, as I told you, based on it, the next twisting posture on the back, which we'll be doing, is called as a Udara Karshanasana, where you bring the knees to the chest and then drop them to the side. Now I'm dropping my knees to the left side, neck will go to the right. Make sure your palms are pressed and then use the left hand to hold the right knee, press it down and just be there. See how the stretch is happening on the spine, how the back is getting stretched sidewise. Those intercostal muscles between the ribs, the lumbar area, your heels are pressed down. You're trying to touch your right ear on the floor so the neck get good stretch. And come to the central line. To the opposite side, so drop your knees to the right side, neck to the left side. I'm using my right hand to press my knees on each other and I'm actively pressing my left shoulder down here. Some of you might feel that shoulder is going up. Actively press. Press the left palm, left wrist, left elbow, left shoulder. And see the effect of active pressure on the side. Then I'm trying to touch my left ear on the floor. And throughout, I'm having deep breathing. Slowly come back. Come to the center. In our general yoga practice, we start with the standing postures. We start with the sun salutation. But for the back pain, it is essential to work with the supine first. So you get a comfort for the back. Now, while having that comfort, there are two more postures here which are very helpful to strengthen the back and to open up the back. The first, again in that category, the one which is helpful is called as Supta Baddha Konasana, sleeping butterfly pose. Not only it works on the hip muscles, but it also works on the lower back curve. The lower back, the lumbar hip sacral first area, where you can get a good stretch there. So you keep your feet together and knees are split apart. Your feet are touching on each other. Initially, you keep your palms on the thighs and just try to give a gentle push on the inner thigh. And see how the stretch is happening on the hip, pelvic area. See how the stretch is happening on the lower back. Now, if you feel like increasing stretch, just take your hands up. If you want, you take them completely up. Otherwise, just take them sidewise up and just be here. Do not do anything. Let the inner thighs get work. Let the gravitational force work on the thighs and let them feel like going down. You just focus on the breath, focus on that lower back curve. in the Supta Baddha Konasana. Very helpful posture for your lower back. Very helpful posture for the inner thighs, hips, pelvic openings. The regular practice of this posture helps you also to open up the hips in a such a way that you will be gradually able to do Padmasana well. One of the good postures to go for the Padma. So maintain. If you have a tight hip, it is very difficult to do Padma. So Padmasana can be achieved with the regular practice of the Supta Baddha. Just deep breathing. If you have a hectic day, at the end of the day you want to relax in the evening, just lie down on the yoga mat in this posture. This is one of the very helpful postures to release the stress from the body. Supta Baddha Konasana. And then slowly come back, keep your feet together. The next stretch, or this is a particular stretch, but not as a posture, but as I said, we do some stretches and then we go with the posture after that. So is the hamstring stretch, which we do with the folded leg. You keep your one leg folded. I'm keeping my left leg folded. My right leg is straight. If you want, you make a hook of the index finger and hold the picture. Try to press your lower back down. Don't lift the back. Back is down. And just breathe. I'm keeping consciously my left arm on the belly to observe my breath. And while observing my breath, I'm observing my right hamstring, behind my right knee, all those tendons, my right calf, and relax shoulders. If you find holding toes is difficult, interlock the fingers and hold the calf. Make sure your hips are not going to come up. And just be here. This is a parameter of the flexibility of your hamstring. So as much as you can stretch your hamstring, it's really good. Some 5 to 8 deep breaths. And then slowly come back. Left leg, slow, steadily up. Make a hook of the index finger, hold the toe and lift up, or from the beginning only make a hook of the index finger, hold the big toe. If you find this is very tedious or very strenuous for the hamstring, you hold your calf. And just be here. See how it works on your hamstring, how it works on your tendons behind the knees, how it works on the calf, how the stretch is coming in a one line. Keep your right palm on the belly and have a deep breathing. Make sure your back remains straight. And then slowly come back. Some 5 to 8 breaths are sufficient. If you feel like some days doing it more, please do it. The more time with the breathing you maintain, the more stretch you are going to get. Now, as I said, this was a stretch, but this stretch which will work on the posture is the next posture which we'll be doing. It's called as Purva Halasana. Now, as of you, all of you might be knowing Halasana, where we take the legs completely up in a supine region. In the Purva Halasana, we take both legs at the 90 degree, and from 90 degree, we bring them little down to the 80 degree. And when they come to the 80 degree, we hold them. This not only works on the lower back, but it also works on the lower abdominal area. Remember, the good core, the strength of the core helps for your back. If you have a belly, if you have an abdominal fat, and if your core is weak, then it's going to contribute for the weak back muscles. But you have good strength in the core. You might not want to have a six-pack abs. I'm not saying you should have a mandatorily six-pack abs, but a good strength in the core helps you a lot for good back. Purva Halasana, where your legs are 80 degree, not 90, 80, and hands are close to you. Those who want, they can take the hands up here. But if you want, you keep the hands close to you and see the activeness of your quadriceps, activeness of your hamstrings, how the lower abs are working, how the hip is trying to balance. Breathe easy. And then slowly come back. So these are good postures to work on the back muscles in the supine category. Supine category is the category where we lie down on the back and do the posture. Now the next category or next type of the postures or the stretches which we are going to do is the prone category, that is on the belly. So to prone category, we mostly work on the upper back area, upper shoulder area, the neck area in the prone category. So the first posture here, let me tell you, this posture is very helpful for the upper back, shoulders and neck. The name of the posture is called a Sphinx Bhujangasana or Sarala Bhujangasana. You first lie down on the belly. And when you lie down on the belly, cross your hands, keep your chin on the crossed hands, legs apart, heels facing each other in a Makarasana. From Makarasana, give time to bring your feet together. Palms side to the chest, elbows are on the floor, and slowly lift your head, neck, chest up. You adjust your hands accordingly. Feet are together, chin parallel to the floor. I'm consciously activating my forearm muscles. And I'm trying to stretch my deltoids. I'm trying to stretch my shoulder blades and maintain. Breathe easy. Breathe deep and breathe continuous. No repetition here. Just holding Sarala Bhujangasana or Sphinx Bhujangasana. I'm consciously activating my fingers. I'm pressing my fingers. My palms are not relaxed and I have activated them. That helps me a lot to stretch my neck up further. And from Sarala Bhujangasana, again relax in a Makarasana. Makarasana is one of the best posture for any kind of back pain, neck pain. If you find there is a discomfort or pain in the back, just lie down on the belly in a Makarasana. There are other variations of the Makarasana where you keep palms on each other, turn the face, where you cross your hands and relax. It doesn't matter till it gives you a relaxation. So whichever version of the Makarasana you're used to, please come to that version and relax. And then the next is again for the upper back and shoulder, called as Sarpasana. Your feet are together, chin is on the floor. Take your both hands back and have a good grip here. Now with that grip, lift the head, neck, chest up. Maintain. Press the toes, press the ankles. Observe your shoulder blades. Come back. Sarpasana, it activates your shoulder blades. It activates your pectorals and trapezial muscles, which helps you a lot for the upper back. Relax. In the process of taking care of the back, we are seeing various types here of the postures. We did the on the back, those are supine. We are doing the prone. In the prone, we worked on the upper back and neck, shoulder. but also in the prone, we can work on the lower back. And to work on the lower back and hip, that is gluteus maximus, the hip muscles and the lumbar area, one of the best posture I suggest you is to do the Shalabhasana, but in the Shalabhasana, to do the Salamba Shalabhasana. Now, how to do? Those who find Salamba Shalabhasana difficult, as I said, some of you might be beginner. So you do the simple Shalabhasana with the single leg. Let me show you the both. You make a fist of the palm and keep that fist under the thigh. Chin is on the floor. And in the Shalabhasana, that is grasshopper pose or Lukast pose, your leg goes up. But in a Salamba Shalabhasana, not only your one leg goes up, other legs get folded and you support that knee with the foot. And just be here. Try to relax your shoulders. If you want, you take your hands sideways just to balance yourself. And see how the Shalabha or Salamba Shalabha works on your hips, works on your lower back, how it works on your hamstring, the stretch which you get. I'm pressing my palms when I keep my hands sideways. And then slowly come back. Changing the side, making the fist of the palm, keep it under the thigh. Chin is constantly on the floor. You should not turn your head to the side. And then I'm changing leg. First, I'm showing you Ardha Shalabha. And those who feel comfortable, for them, Salamba Shalabha. You can make a fist and keep it under the thighs and be here. If you want, you keep the hands sideways, palms fixed, balance here. Breathing deep is very essential. You will see how the muscles open up when you breathe deep. And then slowly come back. We are doing today it for the 30 seconds or 20 seconds near about. When you practice, as I said, you can increase your time. The more time you hold the postures with the breathing, it develops a lot of deep awareness. Now, the last one here on the belly, I highly recommend to do, obviously, is the Bhujangasana. All of you might know various versions of the Bhujanga. We already did Sarala Bhujanga and the Sarpasana, but the basic Bhujangasana itself is a very helpful posture where we keep palms side to the chest. Feet are parallel to each other. You can keep them a little closer, bit difference is okay. And press the toes, lift the chest up. I'm bending my elbows consciously, so I'm freeing my neck. And then slowly I'm starting to straighten the elbows while stretching my belly, and I'm consciously pressing my toes. Externally rotating my elbows. I'm not turning them in. My shoulders are going out. And then come back from the Bhujanga. And from Bhujanga, for the practitioners of the yoga, the favorite one of all is the Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. So slowly go to the downward dog, where you keep the feet down, heels are pressed, the feet are apart. Externally rotate the shoulders. I'm spreading my fingers, but pressing my index and thumb. And then let the chest go down. If you have a back pain and neck pain, if you want to avoid this today, please avoid. But for the others, you try to tuck your tail, point your tailbone up, straight your spine. Make sure your knees are straight, not tight, but little soft bend at the beginning, and straight your spine. Slowly come to the Vajrasana. The downward dog pose for the yoga teachers there or yoga practitioners there, the regular maintaining of the downward dog will help you for your hamstrings, for hips. It helps to stretch your spine. It is actually very comforting. Some of you might find it difficult because of the shoulder weakness or the hamstring tightness. But trust me, with the regular practice, you will be able to master it. As now we are in a Vajrasana, we did a lot of on the belly, on the back. In the sitting, the next posture which will be very helpful for you while practicing and to take care of the back is the back bend in the sitting, which is Ushtrasana. For today, we are going to do the Ardha Ushtrasana, that is half Ushtrasana. You stand on the knees. And when you stand on the knees, I'm consciously pressing my toes. Keep palms on the waist and give a gentle push on the lower back. You expand the chest. It's not essential that you should aim to go for the Kapotasana now. You just push the hips, expand the chest and lean back. Those who want, those who are already practitioners, you aim today to go for the Ushtra, where you keep the palm on the heel. For the new beginner, keep palms on the waist, push the hips, expand the chest in a back bend. And then slowly come back. Relax in a Shashank. Unfold your legs. It is essential if you have any back pain, neck pain, to avoid extreme forward bend. It is essential to avoid the inversion. No, obviously, if you have a back pain and all, we don't go for the any kind of hand balance or arm balances or the headstand practices. We take care of the back. But as I said at the beginning, for the advanced practitioner themselves, those who practice the advanced asana, you must spend some minutes, some 10 to 15 minutes in your practice to take care of the back. You may call it as a warm-up, doesn't matter, no problem. But it helps you a lot to have that, maintain that flexibility, to avoid any kind of spasms, catches, sudden kind of cramps which we get. To avoid that, these practices are helpful. Continuing the practice in the sitting, bring the feet together. We did one hip opener on the back, that is Sutta Baddha Konasana. Now in the sitting, Baddha Konasana. Now when I'm doing Baddha Konasana, make sure you are pushing from the lower back, not from the upper. You are stretching the lower back. So not this, but stretch the lower back. Keep your elbows on the calves and give a good stretch on the inner thigh. Chin up, neck up. Then elbows will go down. Have a good grip around the toes. Go down. Maintaining Baddha Konasana with the deep breathing helps you a lot to open up the inner thighs, open up the hips, and works on the lower back. Slowly come back. Unfold the legs. Those who have a neck pain, those who have a shoulder pain, this next posture is very helpful for them. We do the Parivrutta Janu Shirasana, but this is a preparation for it. You fold your right leg at an, your left leg is straight in the line. You hold your left big toe with the left hand And then open up the right hand back. Look at the right palm. And just work on expanding chest. I'm not bending my elbows. I'm just looking at the right palm. Expand the chest. For the regular practitioner, this might look very easy because I know when I handle my therapy classes, I know that how it is difficult for them if they have a tight hamstrings, pain in the neck and shoulder, conditions like cervical spondylitis or conditions like frozen shoulders. These small practices are tough challenges for them. So those who are regular practitioner, you can directly go for the Parivritta Janu Shirasana. And those who are beginners, hold the big toe, try to open up the hand. Maintain it. And then come back. Change the side. I'm folding my left leg at the knee here. Left foot is close to the right thigh. Hold the big toe. My right big toe I'm holding. Open up the left hand. When I'm opening up, I'm using my entire rib cage. I'm using my pectoral muscles, my chest muscles. I'm using my deltoid. I'm using my trapezial muscles. And then I'm working on my neck. Now those who are comfortable, bend the right elbow down. Left hand comes from the top. Hold Parivritta. And then slowly come back. Unfold the legs, legs straight front. Keep legs little apart. When you keep the legs apart, as I said, we don't do extreme forward bend for the back pain case. So we are not going to do Paschimottanasana. But what we are going to do is Upavishta Konasana or the Prasarita Paschimottanasana, where the legs are apart. Hold your toes. Chin up, neck up. Maintain. Not forward bend we are going to do, just stretching the lower back. You concentrate from the tailbone upward. Those who find it is difficult to reach the toes, because I know people with the tight hamstrings, it is difficult. You hold the shin. And when you hold the shins, bend your elbows there, close your eyes. Just don't curve your back, straighten your back, chin parallel to the floor. Chin will not go up, down. Chin will remain up. My ankles are in, and those who are comfortable, please hold the big toes and maintain. Slowly come back. Many times, even for the advanced practitioners and also for the beginners, this happens that they feel like, okay, let me push little ahead. And in the process of pushing ourselves little ahead, we go for the jerky movement, which obviously causes the sudden spasms, sudden injuries, some acute pain. So to avoid that, as I told you, focus on your breathing. Let the breath take you, not you should push. Let the breath take you there. So for example, when I'm bending forward, if my breath is allowing me to be here, be here. I don't have to compulsory push myself, just be here. And see how the breath takes you gradually. And then slowly come back. In the sitting, last one which we will do is called as table pose or the Chaurangasana. One of the best postures for your upper back shoulders. This is kind of a preparation for the Purvottanasana, the reverse plank, but we will use it for opening of the upper back and shoulder. So as I'm considering this is a beginner and advanced mixed session, so that's why we are doing the Chauranga. How to do Chauranga? Very simple. Fold both legs at me. Hands are back and all fingers are pointing front. Fold both legs and use your hip muscles, abdominal muscles, not only the hip and lower back, but the abdominal muscles to push. If you just use the hips, you will have this thing. But if you use your core, you will be able to stretch more. And when you use the core, automatically use the upper thigh. So make sure your palms are fixed. Lift the hips, engage your core. And see the effect of the postures on your biceps, on your triceps, on your deltoids, on your chest. Those who are regular practitioners, those who are advanced practitioners, you stretch your legs front. Reverse plank. And then come back. So that is a Chaurangasana sitting. See, we are doing many postures today, and there are many more for the back. What I suggest you pick up some from here and there in this session and keep doing them. That will be very helpful for you for your own practice. Having said that, now few postures in the standing. Now, as I told you, when we have a back pain, when we have any lumbar issue, we don't recommend person to stand long time. But doesn't mean that we should give up the standing posture. What we do is we simplify the posture. So come to the standing position. And in the standing position, feet are little apart. Hands up. Look at the palms. And just maintain first Tadasana. Tuck your tailbone in. And engage your core. When I'm tucking my tailbone in, I'm engaging my core. That helps me a lot to work on my rib cage. And then slowly come back. After Tadasana comes the next practice, that is a Trikonasana. So legs are apart. Turn right foot to the right side. Keep the right knee straight. Open up the hands. Expand the chest. And then slowly stretch yourself in a Trikona. Your feet are in a line. If you can reach to the floor, it's good. If you can't, hold your shin. Make sure your knee remains straight. Expand the chest. Try to push the hip back. Those who are practitioners, stretch completely. And then come back. Change to the other side. Expand the chest. Lean. Slowly come back. As I said, for the back pain care or back care, we reduce the standing postures. So that's why we are having less posture. But there are many more postures one can do with a gradual practice. The last posture for today in the standing is a Dvikonasana. As I said, extreme forward bends we avoid. So what we do, we keep legs apart and then hands back, interlock the fingers. Let me show you sideways. And then have a good grip here. Take a breath, lean back. Exhaling time, fold forward. Dvikonasana. Soft bend on the knees is okay, not total bend, or try to keep knees straight and concentrate between the shoulder blades. And then slowly come back. Relax. Now I request all of you to please lie down on the back. We are going for the small relaxation with a visualization for the back. So please lie down on the back. And when you lie down on the back, Legs are apart, hands are apart. Those who want, they can keep legs folded. Please keep your legs folded. And completely collapse. Your eyes are closed. Observe yourself after the practice. Observe the body which is on your mat. Your awareness is towards your toes. With the light movement, relax your toes. Your awareness is towards the fingers. With the light movement, relax your fingers. Your awareness is towards your lower back. Press your lower back on the mat. Release, relax. Do it a couple of more times. Press your lower back on the mat. Release, relax. Your awareness towards the neck. Press your neck on the mat. Release, relax. Your awareness towards the neck. Press your neck on the mat.
Namaste, dear friends. I think we've just lost Omkar ji there. We'll just wait for a few more minutes and allow him to join. But what I propose is that you stay in that position because he wanted to guide us through a back relaxation, visualization. So I'll try and take it on from here for a short while, and then when he's back, he can resume. So I suggest that you stay with your eyes closed and relaxed. Put your attention on the back muscles that have been activated in the process of this session. Remember, Vijay Dhruvji told us that your mindfulness on the exercise is what is going to enhance the benefits of that particular exercise. So just put your mind on all the muscles that have been activated in the course of the session. So very consciously put your attention on the upper back muscles near the spinal region and visualize that all the muscles that were utilized are relaxing and that the circulation in those regions is improving.
As you relax, let go tension from your back muscles. From your spinal area. Your connection of the mind to the body is important. And that connection happens with the breath. So with exhalation, totally let go. Gently. Bring your legs together and slowly come to the sitting position. Take your time when you come to the sitting position. Keep your spine straight. When you inhale, deep breath. Exhale, breathe out. There's a simple pain releasing technique. When you inhale through the nostrils. When you exhale, exhale out through the mouth. So when you inhale, take a deep breath. While exhaling, let go. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. Gently rub your palms and give a nice massage to the face and neck. Slowly open your eyes. I'm sorry for the little technical glitch we had, I believe. But let me continue with few more points when we take care of the back. Is it okay? Can I get 5 minutes more?
Yes, it's okay. Just 5 minutes more. Yes, it's fine.
Yes, yes. So, as I told you, when we see through the yoga point of view, it is a ahara, vihara, and vichara. So, in a activities we saw about the yoga postures, practicing them with the breathing, making sure that there is a repetition, there is a holding, and relaxing them. But in a vihara, as we saw, the vichara part, the activity, and then the thinking. A lot of back pain, neck pain related issues are with the thinking. As we know, the mind makes a lot of impression on the body. That's why we call it as a psychosomatic element. So a lot of it is connected with letting go of the burden, letting go of unnecessary baggages, letting go of past hurts, past emotional traumas, past worries, the sense of loneliness, sense of the insecurity which we carry, sense of the guilt which we carry. So it is always seen that when we let go that. Now, how do you let go that? Obviously with the meditation. Any form of the meditation which you do, and if you use the affirmations related with it, simple affirmations that I let go my past easily, I let go my hurt, I forgive myself, I forgive that particular situation or the person or the experience which I went through. I allow life flow through me easily. I allow life energy to flow through me easily. I allow that energy heals me. I allow I am receptive towards the positivity. Such kind of affirmation. I am enough. I am strong. Strong doesn't have to be a wood strong. A strong doesn't have to be a stone strong. But I am emotionally, physically, mentally, energy-wise balanced strong. Such things helps a lot to have that. Now, affirmations can be always done in a meditation. Affirmations can be done before going to the bed, when you wake up. And it is always in with my personal experience I have seen, I can tell you that affirmation helps you. And that is about the vichara. And now about the ahara, one last point here. It is essential to have enough amount of calcium, manganese, vitamin D, vitamin B12, vitamin C in your food. So how do you get it? Have plenty of milk. If you are a milk person, then you can have a regular milk. You can have various variety of plant-based milk. You can have paneer. You can have spinach, the green veggies, They are full with the vitamin B, you get a lot of iron, minerals through them. You get banana. In Indian custom, we have a regular habit of the eating banana. It is very helpful because it cleanses your stomach. It's a high fiber. If you have a long constipation issue, the back pain is prominent. So constipation, acidities can be cured or can be taken care with the regular intake of banana. And last is vitamin C. The citrus fruits, lemon, oranges, if you have them in your routine food, they help a lot for the intake of the vitamin C, which is in a way helpful for your muscles, for your bones, for your joints. So see the health through the ahara, vihara, vichara point of view, and that will take care of your back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omkarji, for especially the last words that you had on ahara, vihara, and vichara. The importance of that, not just for a lifestyle, but very specifically also in the case of looking after the back and other things, back especially. So thank you very much for leading our participants through a very beautiful session, because the comments that are coming forth are an indication that it was very helpful for them. And I'm sure
Thank you.
many who will watch this will also feel benefited, because I think of all the ailments, the back pain, and especially in today's lifestyle, many of us suffer from back pain. So your session will be a good relief and release for many. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So I will just take on a few questions that have come up. I will
Yes,
stick to the
please.
questions that are very specifically around the session that was conducted by you. So Gopi Krishna Paritalaji is saying, I heard that those who are suffering from slip disc or lower back pain should not lift the head to kiss the knees while hugging the knees in Pavana Muktasana. Kindly confirm that.
What happens when we go to the deep inner therapy? There are people with a slip disc issue where even the smallest movement can cause a tremendous pain. But I have come across many people, even though they have a chronic slip disc issue, they are able to do Surya Namaskara.
Okay.
So point is here that yes, technically, just for the sake of the safety, we tell that, as I told also in the practice in Supta Pavana Muktasana or in Pavana Muktasana, we don't lift the head up, but it doesn't mean that we should confine ourselves to not to lift the head up. With our regular practice, we should aim to do that posture correctly. So beginning, yes, don't lift the head up, but aim to do it correctly gradually over the period of 6 months maybe, but please do so.
Okay. So you would basically tell the participants to listen to their body again. So
Yes,
to have the ideal in mind and to aim for the ideal, but
yes,
all the while listening to the response of the body
yes,
and respectful
yes,
of the body's
yes,
indication. Yes, I
yes,
think that's very valuable. Thank you.
yes.
So we have Atiya Anisji from Atiya Anisji, who's saying that I have cervical issues and have weak neck and right shoulder. Can you suggest
Hmm.
ways to improve these specifically? I face challenge in doing many asanas because of this.
So if you have a snake issue, which is very common these days, as I told you in the corporate companies, I see because they work on the system a lot and there is a lot of compression because of the wrong posture. So people who drive a lot, for them they have a neck issue. So what I suggest them for is a very simple thing. Mandatorily daily, at least 2 to 3 times, do the Sukshma Vayama, the joint loosening, the neck up and down, neck right, left, circle, but don't constrict yourself only with the neck practice. Do all the Sukshma Vayamas, fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulders. You can just look for the Sukshma Vayamas, they help. And also toes, ankle, knee, and hips. You will see, trust me, 15 days maximum it will take. With the experience I'm telling that the regular practice of the Sukshma Vayamas helps a lot for all these neck and shoulder related issues. When you can do morning, when you get up immediately, do it on the bed. In many yoga schools, traditional yoga schools, it is custom. So when they get up on the bed, they do then lunch and one before dinner. It will hardly take some 3 to 4 minutes, but that time you can spare for the neck and shoulder issues. For the neck and shoulder specifically, up and down movement, right and left movement. And if you are comfortable, then only the circular movement. And for the shoulder, rotation of the shoulder.
Okay.
Slow, steady.
Omkarji, sorry, we lost your voice a little bit in the middle. So if you don't mind just repeating from the morning to the evening, you said you gave a certain sequence.
Yes.
So if you could just say it a bit slowly, because I think the net at your end is dropping time to time. So if you could just say the whole thing slowly,
when you get,
now we have everything.
so when you get up morning, that time immediately on the bed, do all the Sukshma Vayama, joint loosening. Then before going for the lunch and once before dinner. Twice a day at least, you aim to do the Sukshma Vayama, joint loosening. That will be very helpful for the practice, for the joint issue, the cervical issue.
All right. Thank you. There was
Thank you.
another one on, again, a more specific question for tips or therapy for relaxing and healing the deltoid muscle of the upper back close to the neck. So, your specific suggestions for that?
So for the deltoid opening or deltoid practice, I suggest to do the regular practice of Gomukhasana stretch. The Gomukha is the one where, let me just show you quickly. Let me show you from the back. You take your one hand up, other hand from the down, and bring them together. So this one can do. Now, if you can't do, you hold the belt here or towel here and just maintain. It will help you a lot to open up the deltoid and armpit. You can do from the both sides, right side and the left side. So that will be a good practice, a very helpful practice for the deltoid.
How much time would you propose that they hold it?
So I suggest to hold it like 20 to 30 seconds every attempt. And like that, some 5 to 6 attempts in a day. Anytime you're watching television, you're talking with somebody, just you have a small break in your work, just sit and do. Like, that time it will be very helpful.
And do you have any recommendations about the breath? How would you involve the breath?
Always deep breathing. No particular breathing pattern here. Deep breathing is always helpful.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So Eva Viate, a very dear friend from Switzerland, is asking, what do you recommend as a sleeping position, manner and surface for other to sleep in order to avoid a morning discomfort and pain in the back and neck? I think many of us, she's voiced the problems of many people here. So what is your recommendation?
Personally telling, when I see as a therapist point of view, if you have a foam bed, if you have those soft mattresses, I suggest to avoid them and please have a thick cotton bed. The traditional cotton beds which you get, cotton mattresses, which are supporting for the back, they are very helpful. These days you get the orthopedic mattresses, they are also good. That is first regarding the mattress. Now the position. You can lie down on the back with the folded legs, or you can keep your legs elevated, keeping a bolster or a pillow under the leg if it is comfortable. Or you can lie down on the belly, on the abdomen, the Makarasana which we did. The Makarasana, and in that you can relax. There is one more posture which is called as Matsya Kridasana. Do you have a time to little bit show it quickly?
Yes, yes.
Let me show you the Matsya Kridasana, where you lie down on the belly, then you cross the hand, and then bring one knee sidewise. Hands will come in that line and just relax. So this is called as Matsya Kridasana. You can keep one pillow under the knee if you want, or just without that, relax. This is one of the comforting pose you can do for the back pain. You can do on the both sides, you can keep on changing, that doesn't matter, but it is one of the comforting pose to do for the back issue.
Thank you. I think that's also a reason why children naturally take on these postures
Yes.
because it's a relaxed
Yes.
position for
Yes,
them.
it helps them a lot to relax. And even nowadays, gynecologists suggest for the pregnant woman to do this particular posture. They have those pregnancy cushions, which are designed in a such a way a woman will automatically lie down on the belly sideways in the kind of a Matsya Kridasana. But traditionally, Matsya Kridasana is mentioned, which is good for the therapeutic approach for the back care.
All right, all right. But I would maybe suggest that it's better to take a doctor's advice for a pregnant
Yes.
woman before she actually does it.
Yes. So for the always therapeutic point of view as case to case basis, they are individual basis. The general practices everybody can do, but if you have a specific practices, I suggest you to talk to your doctor and your therapist, and then accordingly practice.
All right. There were other two questions regarding the pain only in the back pain. So one was about if you have vertigo, what are the practices that one should do and should not do if one suffers for vertigo? And the other one by Anchalji was that how do inversions affect back pain?
So let me tell a bit about the vertigo. Vertigo, first thing you have to see why the vertigo is. Some of the people get vertigo because of the hyperacidity. Some get because of the hyperphotosensitivity, like this one. Some might get it because of the cervical weakness. If you have a weakness, you tend to have a migraine and vertigo issue. So first rectify the cause of it, and then accordingly you can do the practices. Now, which are the good practices for the vertigo? We always recommend the grounding practices like Vajrasana, Padmasana, Vrikshasana, the balancing Vrikshasana, obviously with the support. So all the joint loosenings are always good. And then we emphasize more on the pranayama, the Anulom Vilom practice. No Kapalabhati, no Bhastrika, but Anulom Vilom and sectional breathing. And the last for the vertigo is the Bhramari. The more and more you develop that three-dimensional awareness within you, the more and more focus remains, so that gaddiness goes off. So traditionally, these are the practices I recommend. And what was the next question regarding?
For inversions.
Inversions. Many
Yeah.
times what happens, inversions are to be done very cautiously.
Can I just
Inver-
ask, it was just that how do inversions affect back pain? So maybe
So-
you can answer two parts of it. So whether people with back pain should do inversions, and while doing inversions, what are the things you need to be careful of for keeping the back safe?
So inversions means the posture where we lift the body in upward direction, keeping the upper portion of the body down, in a simplest language to understand. What happens, the inversion asanas like Sarvangasana or Halasana, or if we do any handstands or Vrishikasana or headstand, these are the practices, the way we go in those postures sometimes can make you fall down. These are not easy way to go at the beginning. So if you have a back pain and if you fall down badly, it's going to obviously affect your back more. So that's why no inversions there. Also, even the simplest inversions, why we avoid? Because in inversions, we use a lot of core and lot of back strength. Now, if you already have a weak back and if you already have a problem in the back, then if you are not developed the strength, then obviously I will not recommend you to do that. So first, develop the contraindication is all not a limitation. Contraindication is the process for you to work on it and move on it. When I say therapy point of view, I always tell my participants or clients that If I'm telling you not to do iska matlab, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do lifelong. It means that you are going to develop yourself to that level that you will be able to do. So inversions at the beginning to avoid sudden jerks, traumas, sudden spasms, we are not going to do. But with the regular practice, yes, you can later do it.
So thank you for your caution, counsel, and encouragement on
Thank you.
the inversions properly and safely. There's one question, I think this will be the last I'll take up. There's another one I'll take up as well. But Siddhika Ekhaji is saying that should I do a Surya Namaskara with protrusion of disc in the lumbar spine? Normally after 3 rounds, I feel pain.
So I suggest that please don't do it at now. Please focus on strengthening of your back muscles. So at least if you have a protrusion already diagnosed, and if you find that after 3 rounds of Surya Namaskara you get a pain, that means there is a problem. So you please work on developing the hip muscles, developing the other portions of the back while side bendings, lumbar stretches with the hip opener postures. And then you might give a try after 6 months. But even after 6 months, if you find there is a trouble, I suggest you give time, keep practicing the back practice. Avoid which may cause the pain. So Surya Namaskara at this level, I'll suggest please don't do it.
Thank you. So there are just 2 questions. I'll combine 2 questions. One is by Mallika ji, who's also asking about vertigos, what not to do. But I'm combining it with another question here. We have by Daya ji, who's saying that how should we wake up from the bed? Is there any procedure? So I'm combining the 2 because sometimes a sudden movement can also give people a sense of very specifically around vertigo, things that you would say absolutely don't do. And the other is, what is the safe way to get up from bed in the morning?
So first thing, what not to do vertigo is any jerky practices, any dynamic practices, definitely not. Any extreme forward bend, definitely not.
Omkar ji, can you please repeat that again? Because your voice is breaking time to time. So could you just not move too much and just say it very slowly and deliberately?
So for the vertigo, practices which we are not supposed to do are any extreme forward, any extreme back bends, any extreme jerky practices like aerobics and all, definitely not. Any long version of Surya Namaskaras, any any jumping versions of the salutations, definitely no. But also in some cases, vertigo can be acidity. So with you
Omkar ji, no, we are not being able to hear what you're saying. Could I request you one thing? That I will go on to announce the program of the evening. If you don't mind typing a little bit of what you just said, the key points in the chat box in all panelists and all attendees, then they will have access to that. And then when we come back, if we can say it again, it would be better. So
definitely.
Yes. Sorry, we were just losing you, and I think it was very important.
I think there's a network issue.
Yes, no problem. Yes. So I will just move on with your permission to say the
yes, please.
And I request you to kindly put down in the chat box some of the important points that you've mentioned.
Absolutely.
You, so that we can know how people can reach out to you and your work and get a message from you as well. So I request Srinivas ji to kindly show the poster for the meeting. So this evening we have a very special session by Dr. Lorenzo Cohen on yoga as a way to transform your life and health. Dr. Lorenzo Cohen is the director of Integrative Medicine Program at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center in the USA. We had a talk by Smita Mallayya ji a few days back where she spoke about the benefits of yoga for cancer patients. Dr. Lorenzo heads that particular program, so he's going to give us insights and what research has shown about the benefits that yoga practices bring to patients who are recovering from cancer. So please attend that, because I think it's such a session is not just important for the patient themselves, but I think such sessions are also very important for the caregivers to understand. And also for people, normal people, it's very important to understand that yoga is also preventive rather than just curative. So please attend this session in the evening and do share about it to your friends, especially if you've got friends who are suffering from cancer, if you have friends who are caregivers, do reach out about this session to them so that we can ensure that these messages that are being conveyed can reach a maximum number of participants. I just want to, in this context, invite you to become ambassadors of wellness. So this is a spin-off that is emerging from this global festival of yoga to celebrate wellness, where we are conceiving of this idea of becoming an ambassador of wellness. So what we would recommend is if you can share this on your respective social media platforms and also tag friends and ask them to become, so nominate friends to become ambassadors of wellness and ask them to nominate friends to become ambassadors of wellness. So let's see how far we can reach, how many we can reach to create greater degrees of wellness, not just at a physiological level, but an integral wellness at the mental, emotional, physical, and of course, a spiritual wellness to make the whole thing a complete package of well-being. So with these words, I come back to Omkarji. Omkarji, would you like to just tell us, yes, you've said vertigo, avoid any dynamic practice, extreme forward bending, back bending, any jerky kind of movements. So that's what you've also mentioned in your,
Yes.
in the note that you've put on the chat. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any way that people can follow you? We have some email addresses that have come up.
Yes.
Any other
Uh,
programs?
I'm available on the Facebook with the same name, Omkar S. Gotkindikar. I'm also available on Instagram, and my mail ID has been shared where I'm available to communicate for any queries or questions.
Yes. Thank you very much. Because we have a few questions. There were some questions about weight loss and all. I said that that's a very long topic and we will have many sub questions below that.
Yes.
So we have not taken on that one, but please feel free to reach out to Omkarji
Yes.
and benefit from his experience and knowledge on the subject. I see that Vinayji has come on. Vinayji, would you like to unmute and say something?
I just like to add that Omkar is a very good teacher. He's also a very good artist and very expressive with all his bhavanas. So it would be very nice to connect with him. He's there available on all the social media platforms. And I can assure you that it will be a wonderful association.
Thank you.
So Omkarji, Omkar Bhrata, whom we call as from a Sanskrit endearing term for brother, would you like to kindly give us your message to our participants?
I have only one thing to say, and which is from the Yoga Sutra. Satu dirgha kala nairantarya satkara sevita druda bhumi. Satkara sevita druda bhumi. Consistency in the practice is the key for the success. So whichever practice, even if you do simple Pavana Muktasana, even if you do Sukshma Vayamas, consistency. That's the only key to do it. Over the time, with my own understanding and practice, I have realized. So I suggest that make sure that your sadhana, any sadhana it might be, let it be consistent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you on the show in different roles.
I'll be there. I'm always there. I'll be there.
So that our audience
Thank
can
you.
expose to your lovely smile and presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So I request Srinivas ji to kindly put up the poster for the evening and also play the Om. And I request all the participants to join in the chanting of the Om with us.